Hello, everybody. It's Alex again here with another podcast, and today I'm delighted to have the awesome Tom Boston on from SalesLoft. Hello, Tom.
Hello, Alex. Are you well?
I am not too bad. I'm virus-free, if we're allowed to say that, in the crazy world that we are in at the moment. How are things your end, wherever you are in the world?
Yes, very well. Also fit and healthy, and feeling good. Looking forward to having a good chat.
Good stuff. And I'm working from home. Are you working from home?
Working from home at the moment, so I've got all the home comforts. I'm wearing my slippers, and I've got my favourite mug.
We'll come on to mugs and biscuit loving in a minute. But first and foremost, so Tom Boston, who, what, why, when, where?
all the W.
In any kind of order, doesn't really matter.
So yeah, I am Tom Boston. I am an SDR at SalesLoft. As you'll hear from my accent, originally from the north of England, now living in London. Mm-hmm. I've been an SDR for a few companies for about 2.5 years. And before I moved into the world of SaaS, I found myself in retail for a fair few years as well. So a bit of a late bloomer to the SDR role in particular. A lot of SDRs in London tend to be a little bit younger. So I'm more of I like to call myself a mature SDR in London.
And I remember you did a video on this actually recently. SDR, for those that don't know?
Sure. So Sales Development Representative, sometimes called a BDR, Business Development Representative.
Right.
Essentially somebody who lead generates, right? Who creates value right at the beginning of the sales process. Can be inbound, tends to be mainly outbound. Yeah. But it's essentially about creating value when you're speaking to a prospect, and then passing on a nice warm lead to your colleague, who can then demonstrate kind of what you do. So it's I like to call it's opening doors, right?
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. And we were talking about this before we kind of came live, as it were. And if I go back to, I've been in sales all my life, but I'm slightly older than you. But way back when, in the world of recruitment, where I kind of cut my teeth, SDRs didn't really exist as I was recruiting for and myself, because you're either kind of net new business or an account manager, and that was it, or channel sales, partner sales, and you ran the entire kind of end-to-end process, of course, with tech support and so on. But certainly back then, none of this technology really existed. We're talking 15, pushing 20 years ago now. I don't want to show my age too much. And all I could do back then was really, hammer the phone, smile and dial, and try and get through to HR directors, sales directors, to pitch why they should use, primarily Michael Page International and myself to work with their next hires. And very much a door opener. But back then, what gave me typically the extra 30 seconds on the phone was because somebody had heard of Michael Page International. They'd never heard of Alexander Lowe. So what difference, what do you see as the difference between back then, and I know that you have been in that world too, to kind of the modern salesperson? Let's forget all the acronyms. The salesperson of today.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we're so lucky, really, in this day and age, as salespeople, with everything that we've got access to, and how creative we can be when we're kind of prospecting, and when we're reaching out to people that we want to work with. As you touched on, one of my very first B2B business to business, I'll stop using acronyms, Alex. One of my very first business to business sales roles was, I used to sell gas and electricity, and This was cold calling to businesses across the UK, and it was 80 to 100 calls. It would be lots of people hanging up, and lots of Lots of people telling me to not call them again if I want to be polite.
I was going to say in that language exactly. I imagine.
Yeah, I'm paraphrasing. And this would all it's all I'd have access to. Like you say, you'd have the phone. You maybe would send an email as a follow up, but it wasn't worth my time to even email the businesses that I was calling. It was just hitting the phones, and you'd get a lot of rejection. It's kind of where I got my thick skin, right? Because you never get more objections than when you're cold calling selling utilities. But nowadays, obviously, the modern kind of sales person has got access to a plethora of tools at their disposal, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's really exciting, and it allows us to be really creative. I have a big smile on my face when I call someone up and they know me, or they've seen one of my LinkedIn videos. They've clicked on a video that I sent them a couple of days ago in their email inbox. Maybe they've just seen something on social media about me or my organization, and it's a nice warm call as opposed to a cold call, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel very lucky that I get to have those much warmer conversations now.
It's interesting you talk about kind of, because we talk about smile and dial back then, but it's things like that actually work. I remember actually if I stood up when making a phone call, the kind of the physiology of your body changes because your lungs open, you can enunciate better. You're not hunched over a desk. People can say that they can hear a smile in someone's voice. So I think just for anybody that's in the world of anything you do, just talking on the phone, sometimes even just standing up can help you project better. And I think I used to annoy my colleagues wrapping phone wires around my neck as I was stomping around the office trying to close calls and close deals, as it were. But as you rightly say, the world has moved on considerably from the phone, email, mass email marketing to kind of where we are today. So what sort of things do you, and you touched on video, and I've seen your videos online in terms of what you promote, and I think they're absolutely brilliant. I think the way that you leverage video, is a masterclass in how to do it without selling. So what are the kind of the tips or the processes that you find work for you that people listening to this could put into practice?
Sure. Well, just to put some context behind that, in case somebody's not seen my videos or they're not aware of kind of what I do. I started at a company called SalesLoft last year, and I set myself a little kind of mini goal to record a weekly LinkedIn video. Mm-hmm. And I'd committed to do that, no matter what my schedule looked like, I'm going to try and get at least one video out per week. And the whole point of it was to look at building not only my personal brand, but getting SalesLoft out there as well along the way. Now, when I started to record the videos, I would look at maybe the website, right? I'd look on our website and I'd be like, oh, maybe I could talk about this feature, or maybe I could do a video on a core value of the business like that. That's very LinkedIn, that will probably resonate or whatever. And it just wasn't me. I didn't even, if I watch a couple of the first videos that I sent out, I'm not very proud of them. It felt very forced, and it looked like someone had told me, you need to do a video, Tom. It needs to be about SalesLoft. And, you can smell it a mile off. And especially with me selling to salespeople, they're very savvy. They know what the game is, right? So I moved away from that, and I decided to start to do videos that I would want to watch. Mm-hmm. So, I like comedy. I like to see something that perks me up in the day and kind of resonates in that way and makes me laugh. And I thought, look, let's make content that I would watch. Let's make content that I would smile at. And I started to look at some of the pains that my prospects might face.
Yeah.
So whether that's, as we've touched on, sales acronyms in the workplace, especially when I first started in the world of software as a service sales. I won't say SaaS sales, but software as a service in London, and people were talking about ARRs and CRMs, BDRs and SDRs and the CSM teams, and I didn't know what they meant, and I'm nodding away. And I thought that would be fantastic to create a video on. That's going to resonate with people who are especially new to sales. And it did. It did very well. And I would do videos on filling out the CRM and the excuses that reps might give when, to their manager for not filling out the CRM, which might include things like, I don't understand Salesforce Lightning. It's all changed. I understand Classic. I don't understand Lightning. It shouldn't be called Lightning. It should be called Frightening because it's terrifying.
There are CRMs available, by the way.
Of course, yes. Other CRMs, of course, are available. I don't reference them in my videos, but and it was those videos that would make people smile, that would get the likes, and that would get the shares, and would start conversations in my DMs with people that I wanted to speak to.
Yeah.
It's it wasn't really a goal of mine to try to get as many views on the videos as possible.
Yeah.
I always just wanted to create content that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And that would stick out in the minds of my prospects. And it seems to be working. I'll pick up the phone and I'll speak to someone who I'm not even connected with. Mm-hmm. And they'll hear my accent and they'll go, I've seen a lot of your videos on LinkedIn. And, it's a great conversation starter, makes my job a lot easier. And I'm also having a lot of fun, as I'm sure you see from those videos along the way.
Indeed. And I think there are some interesting points here. I think, for me, and I know Ollie, your boss, but for any other sales directors, sales managers, out there listening to this, did Ollie go to you? Did you go to Ollie and say, I want to do this, or did he just do it and kind of ask for forgiveness afterwards if he was going to be upset with it?
So Ollie's great, as you'll know. He gives us the freedom to kind of fly, and he's never said no to any of my ideas. He sometimes watches them. I'll hear him laughing in the corner. I'll see him watching them a couple of times, and he'll just be like, "Oh, this is great." And he's very much behind kind of everything that I'm doing. It wasn't really a conversation that we sat down and had. I just started kind of doing it as I thought this might be a good idea. But we do often sit down and maybe have a chat about, what direction they might kind of go in, and all that kind of good stuff. But no, he's my number one fan.
A creative director as well, it would sound like. And the next question, and we get this a lot with sales directors, the general kind of, I don't want my sales team messing around on LinkedIn or wasting their time on social media. And one might perceive that what you're doing is just messing around on social media, but we can certainly hear that there's a rationale to why you are doing it, because you want to stand out and be different from every other SDR on the planet who is trying to sell something. So 2 questions for you: how long does the whole process? I'm not talking about the thought process, because I do my videos and it's kind of, I have an idea during the week and I write it down. But when you've got your idea of what you're going to do, kind of how long does the process take from recording, editing, and subtitles, and then posting?
That's a good question. So it's definitely come down. It was something that I would do lots of takes on, especially when I first started doing these videos, and maybe I'd spend a few hours editing, 1 hour an evening. But I can from hitting record and getting that video on LinkedIn between, I would say, 60, 90 minutes tops. So it's not taking a huge chunk out of my working week. And now that I'm not having to write my own captions. I've got a tool in place that helps me do that. That saves me a lot of time.
Yeah. Which one do you use?
It's rev.com.
Rev.com. I use Subtitle, but yeah, there's some brilliant tech out there which is very, very good at what it does. So 60 to 90 minutes during the course of a week, which actually, when you kind of chop that up, probably not very much, and probably people listening waste 60 to 90 minutes a week on pointless meetings, or making phone calls that people they're never going to get through to, or creating emails that are never going to be responded to. And you've already touched on this, that when you're doing the outbound, people already recognize you and know who you are. So that's almost going back full circle to Mike. Oh, I've heard of Michael Page International, so I'm now going to give Alexander Lowe a chance. You're kind of doing the inverse. It's, oh, I've heard the voice, I know Tom Boston, therefore I'm going to give Tom Boston an extra 30 seconds on the phone call. Are you able to attribute revenue to either inbound that has been, Tom, I've seen your videos, I've seen your stuff, love it, can we have a conversation? Or where the phone call has been considerably easier because someone has mentioned, oh yeah, I know you, Tom, happy to have a call. And where that has converted into, let's go one step back, pipeline, and then converted pipeline.
Sure. So if I was to tell your listeners, Alex, that, I can now sit back and I've got inbound leads coming through every day on LinkedIn as a result of doing funny videos, I would be lying. I'm still having to do, still having to do my job, right? So I'm making sure that I'm kind of keeping on top of anyone who is even liked the video or has commented on the video. Doesn't automatically mean that I'm going to get a meeting with them, and that's going to turn into kind of closed business. But what I would say is, I would reckon that especially of the past couple of months, I would say at least a third of the conversations that I'm having, either on the phone or over email, have referenced some of the work that I do around social. And I would say I've had at least in the past month, 2 or 3 direct inquiries asking me to talk to them about SalesLoft. Now, this might not seem, groundbreaking or something that, your listeners might think, wow, that seems worth it. But what I understand, and I think a lot of people who, want to get into kind of building their personal brand around social understand as well, is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And if you expect to get some traction on a video and that's how you're going to get the majority of your business, that's not going to work. But what it is about is just cementing your personal brand, your organization, kind of in their mind as someone who is A, quite interesting, B, seems quite friendly and easy to talk to, and C, has actually created some value along the way, because it's all about timing, right? So when someone is ready to have that conversation, I'm at the forefront of their mind. But that's very hard to track as a metric, of course.
It is, but let's take and you've already raised this, and whenever we talk to clients, we talk about what we can do is help you lay a pipeline on top of your existing prospecting methodology to bump it up. So we always talk about what is your average order value, what is your deal cycle. If we could get 10 of your reps to generate one more inbound deal over a 12-month period worth $10,000, that's another $100,000 a pipeline on top of what you are already doing. Would that be helpful? Yes. And then we say, well, probably if they start to engage with this over time, because you're right, it's a marathon, not a sprint, it's a change in behavior. Then, one a quarter, we can put a $400,000 increase in pipeline on top of your existing processes, because you then obviously got to go on and close the business. And if you can't close the business, or what's happening in the world today, completely out of our control, social or the inbound tactics that you've used haven't failed. It's the the sales process, as it were. Now, we touched on personal brand. Actually, the podcast last week with a fantastic lady, Mary, over in Australia around this at the kind of the CEO level, but it's the same. But video is very scary for people, right? And I've been on a 2-year journey with my hashtag Ask Alex videos, which I do every Friday. And I'm much like you. If I look back at the first ones, they were terrible to, where I am now, running around in car parks and standing in showers, etc., etc. But
I love that video, by the way. That was a great one.
30,000 other people, apparently. It was a nightmare. But it's not about the numbers, as you rightly say. Outside of video, what else can people do to kind of help create authenticity, or just make them just stand out a little bit different from everybody else?
Sure. I mean, I think I get that a lot, right? So people will message me and they'll ask me, how do I start with video? I'm not confident, and I would always say, look, if you're really, really not confident in front of the camera, don't make videos, because that's not the way to go, right? You need to be authentic, and you need to kind of show people kind of what you've got. But if that's going to be you looking terrified on a video, it might not be worth putting that on the internet. What I would say as a tip is, why not record some videos that are not going to be seen by anybody, and put as much effort into them as you would as if you were going to upload them. Watch them back, maybe show them to friends and family, or send them to me on LinkedIn, and I'll kind of start a conversation with you. But I wouldn't just say, look, let's get video out there for the sake of doing it. Mm-hmm. I think there's loads of different ways for people to kind of show their authentic self on social, when it comes to, if you like, building a personal brand or social selling. I'm a big fan of just talking about things that have happened to me on a personal level. Like I recently shared a LinkedIn post that referenced the fact that I was dressing my 1-year-old son as a caterpillar for World Book Day.
Yep.
And I'd used that line on the cold calls that day, which obviously opened up a few conversations, got a few smiles, and I just put that on LinkedIn as a quick cold calling crack, I called it, for today, and that got lots of likes, and people were kind of commenting on that. And it wasn't the best post in the world, but it just was a little insight to my day, and it showed a little bit about me and opened up kind of my world as well. And that's what I would kind of say to people: if you're not comfortable creating videos, why not just try using social media to talk about your journey in sales, even if that is just a post, a text update, which just talks about you, talks about your life, and shows people that you are a human. Because at the end of the day, and this is the age-old thing, right? People buy from people, and you want to show everyone that you've got a human element and a human side.
I think that's a really great point. And again, I get, it comes back to messing around with social media. And some people listening to this may not be comfortable doing that, which is absolutely fine. They may feel it's a little bit too Facebooky, as it were. And what I will say is, I think I can see a definite generational difference between who posts what about what, but as an extreme in terms of the other end of what one could do, and this is a partner at a law firm, so we are at the other end in terms of risk adverse. He shared a picture of, he was at a conference in New York last year, and there was a fire alarm, still had to leave the conference center. And he took a picture of a big red fire engine and just said, exciting times, there's been a fire alarm. My twins will like this picture of the fire engine. Kind of that's it. I think a message from him going, why has this post got like 5,000 views and lots of engagement versus my technical updates are getting nothing? I said, because the technical updates are really dull, but the human aspect is really interesting. And what that then means, when you're back in London, when your next business meetings happen, somebody will probably reference the facts, the fire engine, the this, the that, and that. And it goes full circle back to, the days of our cold calls when you would record in CRM. client XYZ birthday, went on holiday, kid was unwell. So the next time you make the phone call, you then reference back to, oh, how was the holiday? How da 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 da. All we're doing here is just doing the inverse of that to help people kind of just have a conversation point with you. And it's things like when we work with people to talk around, your profile. If you've run 5 marathons, as one of my clients has, you've run 5 marathons, because other people go, oh, I've run a marathon. How did you find it? I'm thinking running the New York one or the Berlin one. It just gives that little kind of, as you kind of said, familiarity between the individuals. So I guess it's down to personal preference, but the moral of the story of this is just try and be yourself, but a little bit different to everybody else. Just don't be an SDR, BDR, AE, and just write the same that everybody else does.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's the most important thing for someone who is doing a role similar to mine. It's about standing out from the crowd, being different, and being memorable as well, because there's nothing worse than being forgotten. When I call someone back and I've not spoken to them for 2 weeks, the worst thing in the world is if they say, sorry, Tom who? Tom, what, where are you from? What? I don't remember anything we talked about. If that happens, I've not done my job, because I've not been memorable enough for them to pick up where we left off, which is really important within my role. I
think you've I'm going to steal that, if that's all right. Use that term moving forward. I think that's brilliant, being memorable. Absolutely, if I couldn't have put that better myself. So if we just kind of shift a bit, obviously you work for SalesLoft, which sits within the sales technology stack, which I'd like to talk about a little bit, because I know this is still relatively nascent here in the UK, European markets versus over in the US market. So SalesLoft, sales tech, what is it? How does it work? Why do we need it?
Great question. I'll start at the top. So SalesLoft is a platform that sits on top of the CRM and allows reps to be more productive and more persistent in a personalized way than ever before. So when we talk about why do we need tech, sales tech, we know that the world is noisier than ever, and we know that reps need to break through that noise. If you only had access to a phone, you're not gonna get very far. Yeah. So it's all about a multi-channel approach in a really organized way that allows reps to be successful. And SalesLoft is the platform that allows, especially me as a rep, to be more successful than I've ever been when prospecting.
So let's break it down. What's it do? I know we can't. You probably demo it at this point, but platform persistence, which rings alarm bells in my head from the end user. I don't want a persistent salesperson on my tail. So what sort of things can it do?
Well, let me throw in the word pleasantly persistent. Right. What we don't want to do is hammer people. Yeah. So it's not about kind of sending bulk emails and scheduling a call every single day. But what it is about is giving a rep a platform which allows them to add a prospect to a cadence, which is basically just a workflow, right, of sales steps, and for them to be able to follow that cadence through with the mindset of being able to book a meeting with their prospect. So in the past, I don't know, I've done this when I first started my SDR career in London. You've got the CRM, you've got all this data, and you've got a place where you can even set yourself reminders, okay? But when you start to really ramp up your prospecting, that becomes absolutely unmanageable. Yep. And you've got notes on pieces of paper, and you've got calendars updates, and you suddenly remember, oh, I should have called Dave back 3 weeks ago. Yeah, and my wife will tell you the same thing. I'm not the most organized person in the world, and in 2020, when you're in sales, you need to be organized. That's like a fundamental. And what SalesLoft allows you to do is be the most organized version of yourself possible. So load up a platform that tells you how many calls, how many emails, how many touch points you need to do, who you need to be following up with, and with what message. You can automate some of those steps, right? But what I recommend is obviously personalizing those steps as you go. And it's just about making sure that reps are following a process that works, right? Not letting anything slip through the cracks. And you talked about being put off by that word persistent, but what I really enjoyed is for the first time in my career, I've been complimented on how I'm prospecting and how I'm reaching out to people. And people are emailing me back saying, loved your approach, thanks for being so persistent, and I'd like to know more, which is about 1 million miles away from when I first started. So I feel very lucky, right, that I'm kind of at this place. But yeah, to kind of to sum up, it's just about giving a rep a piece of software that can actually change how they are working, make them super organized, but also just steer them in the right direction, give them a helping hand, and take away all that nitty gritty, admin tasks. We know that reps spend, I think it's 60% of their time on non-revenue generating activities. It's clicking on buttons in the CRM and setting meetings and all that kind of stuff. SalesLoft does all the hard work and allows you as a rep to just crack on with delivering an amazing experience.
So what I'm hearing in simple terms is about using CRM data more effectively to drive better efficiency gains.
I like that. Yeah, that's a nice fancy way of putting it. The CRM is a great place for data to live.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a fantastic repository of data, and it's I don't have anything against the CRM because we need it. That's where everything's stored. But that's not where we're executing on a sales process, right? And our platform allows that fantastic strategy that a lot of organizations have to be executed on effectively. And that's where sales engagement sits, right? It's not about having lots and lots of data that reps don't really know what to do with or have to manage themselves. It's about a layer on top of that, which allows them to be really effective and absolutely execute on a sales process in a really personalized way, but at scale.
Yeah, perfect. Tom, this is
Yes.
an absolute pleasure. I always enjoy talking with you. I always enjoy your videos. Before I let you go, what is your favorite biscuit?
So I actually wrote an article about this many years ago. You're not allowed to, especially in an office environment, ask people what their favorite biscuit is,
right?
Because it's my personal experience that it starts a war. I remember someone answered. Someone said pink wafer, and they had to leave the room. They
Wafer, blimey, that takes you back.
They said, "Oh, I quite like the pink wafer," and I remember people in the office were saying, "Get out! You're wrong." I like a custard cream, but I'm a simple fellow. But yeah, the people have big opinions about this, right? What about you?
I knew you were going to ask that question, put me on the spot. Gotta love a Jaffa Cake. But is that a biscuit? I don't know. Is that allowed?
You see, we could do another half an hour on
We could indeed. Tom, where can people find you? How can people connect with you if they want to find out more about you, watch your videos, find out more about SalesLoft?
Great question. So yeah, I live on LinkedIn at the moment. I don't tend to use the other social channels. Yep. There's not many Tom Bostons on LinkedIn, especially not ones that haven't got any hair with a ginger beard and got a northern accent. So I'm sure you'll be able to pick me out of the crowd. But yeah, search Tom Boston on LinkedIn, and obviously check out SalesLoft. We've got a great website which can kind of talk a little bit more about kind of what we're doing. But yeah, obviously the best place to talk about SalesLoft is by speaking to me, right?
Indeed, and I'll put the links to your profile and the SalesLoft website on this podcast as well. Well, as always, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in, listening, wherever you are in the world, whatever industry you're in. I hope you found that useful and helpful. If you want to be on this podcast, you know what to do. Just connect with me, ask me if you want to recommend anybody that should be on this podcast. Same rules apply. Otherwise, in the craziness of the current climate, stay safe, keep safe, and until next time. But thanks all.